What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another video. My name is TRAE with TRAE First Class Productions, and today I got a tutorial for y'all. All right, but before we get started, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button and hit that bell notification button so that you can get a notification every time I post a video. All right. Anybody who's been to my channel already and who is subscribed already, welcome back and thank you for subscribing to my channel. You are appreciated. All right. So today I got a tutorial for y'all. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to batch edit. I'm going to be showing you what batch editing is, and I'm going to show you why it's important and good times to use them. Okay, good times to use batch editing. So now you have Photoshop and you have Lightroom. Batch editing can be done in both. Some people don't exactly know how to batch edit in Photoshop, but I'm not going to be teaching you that today. I'm actually going to just be teaching you how to batch edit in Lightroom. All right, Lightroom is where I generally batch edit, and that's typically when I'm shooting event photography. When I shoot event photography, I batch edit because one, it saves a whole lot of time if you learn how to batch edit. And two, actually that's it. It saves a whole lot of time. So today I'm gonna teach you guys how to save time when you're shooting event photography and you come home with over 100, 200, 300 photos and you're just like, I gotta edit each one of these one by one. You don't have to edit them each one by one. And I'm gonna show you how, all right? So we're gonna jump into my screen right here and I'm gonna show you guys how it's done, how I do it. I'm also going to show you guys my process of batch editing, because batch editing is not always just as simple as applying a preset over a bunch of photos and then that's it. You know, sometimes you have to actually go back and touch some things up. So let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, so we're looking at my screen. This is a wedding. I was the second shooter for this wedding. I can remember this like it was yesterday. This was actually last year in 2021. I was the second shooter for this wedding. Shout out Lo Vasquez. This was actually a really, really beautiful wedding. This was at the Strat Center in Tampa. So what we're looking at here, this is the Lightroom. And if you're not familiar with Lightroom, over here you have your preset panel over here, and then you have your editing parameter panel on this side, okay? And then down here we have the photos, and I think I loaded up, I have about 16 photos here for you guys, okay? So we're gonna start with the first one here, and this is a photo of the bride and the sister. This is the sister and the bride, and let's see, this was taken outside after the wedding, and this was just a side shot as they were actually taking a photo with Lo, and he's standing to my left. So I'm gonna go ahead and just apply some editing to this photo, kind of, you know, how I like it. Go ahead and bring some of the contrast down, a little bit on the highlights, just a little bit, and let's see, let's play with the shadows, bring the shadows down a bit. And I think I want to bring the whites down. All right. Now, sometimes you got to play with some of the parameters to see what you like, what you don't like. That's typically what I do. Play with some of the parameters, see kind of where the sweet spot is for you. And then when you get to a point that you like, see, bring the vibrance up just a little bit. And me, I kind of like, everyone's not the same, but I like to play with colors a little bit. You come up on the orange. Orange is generally the skin color, according to Adobe. Orange is what is actually in the color of the skin. Sometimes yellow as well. So I like to play with those two parameters when it comes to editing skin. but I think, let's see, I think this is pretty much good. So that's before, this is after. This is before, this is after, okay? Before, after. And mind you, this is for event photography, the way I'm editing. If I were to be shooting, let's just say I'm shooting like the actual wedding, and I have to go back and edit, you know, the top 20, 30, 40, 50 photos. Generally, I would take this into Photoshop. I would do a little bit more surgical editing, and I wouldn't just batch edit like this. And I'll explain more of that in just a minute. So right now I have it to where I pretty much kind of like it, and I'll go ahead and take this, all the settings, and I will create a preset. All right, I'll create a preset. I'll go up here where it says presets and hit the plus sign, hit create preset, name it. We'll name this one, I'm gonna say church wedding. I feel like I'm a little weird when it comes to naming my presets. I put numbers after them. That's kind of how I remember. Church wedding 1, or just church wedding. We'll just do church wedding and call that church wedding. It comes up over here. Now you have the church wedding preset. Now you can actually take that, when you come over, you can apply that to the next photo automatically, and it'll do its thing. I don't like the way that looks on this photo, so I'm actually going to make some adjustments. I'm going to make small adjustments based off of what that preset did to this photo. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and bring it up. I want this one to be a little bit brighter. We'll bring the contrast up a little bit, and the highlights, we'll bring those up. Shadows, and if you notice, the bride is in the back here, so that's kind of the vibe I wanted to create with this photo. Is I wanted to take a picture of the high heels with the bride in the background while she's taking photos with the other photographer. All right, and let's bring the texture up a little bit. That kind of helps bring the shoes out. You notice texture, all right? That actually doesn't look too bad. Colors, so let's see, before, after. Let's see, kind of think I want to bring shadows down a little bit, and yeah. All right, so there we go. And you can also see that I kind of took away I did a little bit of editing to this photo beforehand. But this is the total before photo, and then that's the after, before and after. All right. Now, you can, if you want to, go through each photo and apply the preset to each photo one by one. Or, so what you can do is you right click on the photo that you want to copy the settings from, and you right click, develop settings. You can copy settings, or you can Control C, Command C, and copy the settings onto the clipboard. And then what you would do is select the photos that you want to copy it over to, and then you would, hold on, see, I almost made a mistake. I selected this photo when I really don't want to affect this one, because this one is already the way that I like it. But I'm going to copy the setting of this picture with the bride and the bridesmaid, and I want to paste it over to these other photos. So I'm not going to select the heels. I want the heels to stay the way that I edited, and then I'm going to copy it over to these others. That's batch editing, okay? That's batch editing. Now, if I go over to the cake, you'll see the way it looked before that preset was applied to it was this. After I applied the preset, this is what it looked like. Now, I actually like the way that preset was applied to this one, because as you can see, it was very, very bright over here in this area. And for me, in my opinion, I don't want it to look that bright. I want to be able to see as much detail on the cake as possible. So bringing down the brightness in that area of the cake was very, 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 very good. So I'm going to take a look at other presets. I'm going to go ahead and move it around a little bit. The other thing I would probably do is, actually, I think this is actually pretty good. If you want to bring more color up, not a problem. That always looks good. Bring some more color into the photo, and then we move on to the next one. All right, so you got that one. Mind you, this preset is applied to all the photos. So this one, this is how that photo looked before. This was after the preset was applied. I don't like the way this one looked after the preset was applied, so I'm going to make some adjustments. I want this to look much brighter. Bring this up. Bring some of the contrast down, and bring the texture up. All right, so that's before, that's after. So I like the way that looks. If you want, you can copy that over and see how this applied, and see if maybe you want to instead put that over here. Try it out. If it doesn't look good, go back. Now, batch edit generally works a lot better if you're applying it to photos that were taken in the same environment, such as an event taking place outside where the lighting is constant. It doesn't change too much except for, you know, the sunlight, the sunrise going down, losing a bit of, a bit of sunlight here and there. So batch editing is much quicker if you're applying it to a bunch of photos that were taken in the same environment. If you're shooting indoors and you have a lot of photos that were taken indoors and the lighting is typically the same the entire time all the way through, you can apply that same preset that you've already chosen, that you liked, on one photo, and you can apply it to the rest of the photos in your batch. And then for every now and then, you may have to go back and just adjust a few here and there depending on certain circumstances. But that is the idea and the gist of batch editing. I'm going to go to another photo really quick. I'm going to go here. So now I'm going to go over to two photos that were taken in the same environment. I'm just going to show you guys what it looks like when you're applying the same preset to similar photos that were taken in the same environment. So here we go. We have this guest book and we have this flower pot. All right. Now let's see. I'm going to bring the brightness down on this a little bit because, as you can see, it was a little bright. That was before. This is after. Bring down the brightness just a little bit. And then I'm going to bring down some shadows, texture. And really, that's pretty much all I want to do to that photo. So I'm going to copy it. Remember, to copy the settings that you have, you Command C, or you can right click on it. You right click on it, and you can copy. And then you copy it, all the settings, and you can bring it over. And then Command V will paste those settings onto another photo. I really like the way that looks. The only thing is I would bring the brightness up just a little bit. Bring the brightness up. I'd go over here, clean this up a little bit. This is the patch tool, the healing tool. Just kind of, sometimes I can be a perfectionist, just a little bit sometimes. Certain things I don't want to be visible in a photo, so I will edit it out if I can. All right, so this looks great. This looks great. I'll probably bring maybe some color into it. And yeah, and who knows, maybe this can be used over here. This is an outdoor photo. It's not the same, but there is an even or similar amount of lighting in this photo as it was in the past two. And in Lightroom, literally, generally what you're editing mainly is the lighting. And so let's see. That I applied it already. This is kind of what it looked like before. That's after. For this, I'd probably just bring the highlights down a bit, actually all the way, and bring up some texture, soften it with a little clarity, and before and after. Before and after. I like the way that looks. So hopefully by now you guys kind of understand the idea of batch editing. This right here, you know what, I'm gonna give you guys one more example. So I have 3 photos here, 1, 2, and 3. These are taken indoor. These are all taken indoor where the lighting is pretty low. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply some editing to this, some Lightroom editing to this, to the way that I like it. I'm gonna do this one photo, and then I'm gonna apply these same settings to the other 2 photos and show you guys how that transfers over. All right. Let's see. Usually in dark photos, a little more low lit environments, I like to bring the shadows up a little bit, and then I'll even it out with a little less exposure and then bringing down the darks. So let's see. We'll take that. I'll bring some clarity. You kind of just get it to a point where you feel comfortable. Let's bring the contrast down. Okay, so here we got before and after, before and after. All right, so I'm gonna copy and I'm going to apply it to all 3 photos. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and right click and I'm going to develop settings and then paste settings. And that, the same editing that I applied on this photo is gonna transfer over to these 3. So we have before and after. It's a little bright on their heads, so I'm gonna come down on the highlights a bit here. But that's pretty much the only adjustment I needed to make, is come down on the highlights. I won't even touch anything else. And then over here on this photo, this was the before, and then we have the after. Not too bad. All right, so hopefully you guys understand a little bit or a lot of it on what batch editing is. It's very simple. It saves a lot of time, especially if you're editing a lot of photos. So I recommend, if you are getting into event photography, figure out a technique and a workflow that works best for you for batch editing, and create some presets. You know, if you're always shooting at a certain venue, or just doing certain types of events that happen outdoors or events that happen indoor, create a preset for outdoor events, create a preset for indoor events with low lighting, indoor events with higher lighting. All right, and that way when you come and you sit in front of your computer and load all your photos into Lightroom, you know exactly where to start. Okay, so that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. Batch editing is awesome. It when I found it, when I came across it, it definitely was a lifesaver, a time saver, and it allowed me to get to other projects a lot quicker and get people back their work a lot quicker as well. So if you like this video, if you found it informational, if this was something that you weren't aware of, or some tips that you can give me that I should probably try out, please send me whatever, drop it in the comment, like this video, subscribe, share it to anybody that you know interested in learning how to edit in Lightroom. I will see you guys in the next video. All right, see you.